Hey everyone, and Merry Christmas. This is Ask the Pastor, where anyone who wants to, of any age, can send me any question they want, and I have to answer it. I've got a doozy this week. It says, is Santa real? Well, that's a really astute and important question to ask, and it's an important question to ask me in particular. I hope that that when you ask this question was asked anonymously, that whoever you are, you know that I'm not going to lie to you. It's not true that pastors can't lie. Pastors are capable of lying. I have lied in the past, but that was wrong of me. And when I lie on purpose in my role as a pastor, I'm really doing something very, very wrong. More wrong than when an ordinary person lies. It's something that would be really, really abusive of me to do. And so I want you to know how seriously I take it when I say the words, yes, Santa is absolutely real, and I have no doubt about it. It's an important question, and I'm not going to talk down to you about it. I'm not going to talk to you like you're a little kid, because you're smart, and you've asked a smart and important question. And it's a question that a lot of people get wrong, a lot of grown-ups get wrong. And if you're a grown-up watching this, I kind of hope that you watch this video, and if you have come, like a lot of adults have, to kind of believing that Santa isn't real, that I can convince you and give you good reason to believe Santa is. Because really, it comes down to, there are different people who believe different things, and I don't think anyone's lying. It comes down to how you see the world. Everybody who says their different perspectives honestly believes what they're saying. But the question is, what's the better way of looking at the world? Do you want to look at the world in the way that Santa is real, or do you want to look at the world in the way that Santa's not? And even though I have a perspective, I believe Santa's real, I want to talk about both perspectives and kind of pay attention to them and try to give them both an honest representation so that we can really come to the right conclusion together. So if you're ready to do some work, let's talk about Santa and let's go in depth. Let's set this once and for all. So here are, to start with, let me just say, I'm wearing a Santa hat right now, right? But I'm not really Santa. There are some things that are presented as true or that seem true about Santa that aren't. But I trust that when you ask the question, is Santa real, you're smart enough to know that. Like trees are real, right? But this tree behind me is not a real tree. This tree is made of metal and plastic. But that doesn't mean no trees are real. In the same way, sometimes people dress as Santa but aren't really Santa, or say they're Santa, or say things about Santa that aren't true. That doesn't mean that nothing is true about Santa. And in fact, if there is something there, right, if there's one real tree, then trees are real. And if there's one real Santa, then Santa is real. And there is. There was a man named Nicholas. He lived in a city named Myra a long, long time ago, in the 300s. So 1,700 years ago or so. And which is a really long time ago. And he loved Jesus. He was a follower of Jesus. He lived, 300-400 years after Jesus lived. And he wanted to follow Jesus with his life, with his everything, with everything he was and everything he did and everything he owned. So he went to a place called Nicaea, and he argued for the truth, and he fought for Jesus against people who wanted to say things that weren't true about Jesus. And he also, in his home, gave gifts. And he would give gifts anonymously. And he would give them especially to the poor, to people who couldn't afford gifts. And he would provide food and money and things they needed to make sure they were taken care of, and he didn't take any credit for it. He just would give these gifts anonymously. Not let people know who they were from, not people who were his friends, who were people he was trying to curry the favor of or make like him better. He would just give gifts to people because they needed gifts, because he wanted to be generous and because he thought that's what Jesus would do. We know this. Nobody doubts this. Even people who say there's no such thing as Santa, they know that there was this guy named Saint Nicholas. We called him Saint Nicholas, which means Holy Nicholas. The Jesus-like Nicholas, the Nicholas who acted like Jesus, the good example of Christian Nicholas. And another way to pronounce Saint Nicholas is Santa Claus. That's just, like some people say father and some people say daddy. It's another like simplified pronunciation of Saint Nicholas. Well, to this day, around Christmas, around Jesus' birthday, people all over the world get gifts. They get them anonymously. They get them from Santa Claus, seemingly. Sometimes the tags say Santa Claus, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the poor just receive things to eat and feasts that just show up every year around Christmas time. And every year around Christmas time, there's a sense of joy and there's a sense of collegiality and there's this wonder and magic and spark in the air year after year after year, even though there's no way that St. Nicholas should still be alive. I mean, he would be almost 2,000 years old now. And so the controversy comes from asking the question, how do we explain that? And one explanation says, well, there's just nothing to that. It's a coincidence. Nothing magical or supernatural or wondrous is going on. It's just a coincidence. Saint Nicholas is dead and maybe never even existed. And if you get a gift, it's just, there's some other explanation for it. There's something else. And if you want me to believe that there's something wonderful and beyond going on, you have to prove it to me. This way of looking at the world is called reductionism. It says that we need to boil things down to the simplest possible explanation, and we need to be skeptical about them. So if you want me to believe anything, you've got to absolutely prove it. And I know I got gifts, but prove to me who they're from. Show me pictures. Let me hear sleigh bells ringing, right? Like I need proof of every last piece of this. And maybe I didn't get any gifts, and so that's proof that it didn't happen. Because I'm more willing to believe things didn't happen than I am that they believe they are. And even though you got gifts, because you believe, and I didn't get any because I don't believe, I need you to prove where those gifts came from. And I need you to prove that they came from where you say they did. And I can just pile up demands to try to reduce, to try to limit, to try to say that I don't believe, that there's less going on, that there's nothing to this. And if anything's going on, it's best explained by coincidence, by happenstance, by people lying and cheating, than it is by magic, by something wonderful and something imaginative and something that's beyond. And then there's another way of looking at the world. And the other way of looking at the world says that St. Nicholas, by loving Jesus so much, by giving so generously, accomplished something, and something that is beyond human capability. That something is going on, and I can't explain all of it, and I don't know what parts of it are Santa and what aren't, but there is something every year that is more than just nothing. That there is some piece of the goosebumps I feel around Christmas time, that there is some piece of the spirit and the good cheer that everyone shares around Christmas time, that there is some reason why every year around Christmas time people get taken care of that weren't getting taken care of before in the name of St. Nicholas, that is beyond what any human can accomplish. that is beyond human capabilities, that St. Nicholas lives on, and that his influence, the influence of gift-giving and generosity, continues through history, and that the spirit of St. Nicholas, the reality, the identity of St. Nicholas is alive even to this day in the smiles of children and in the pride of parents and in the coming together of communities and in the sky on Christmas Eve night, that there is magic in the world and there is more going on, and that the power that was set free all occurred through love and through Jesus. And that's what I believe. I believe that every year around Christmas, we tap into the beyond. That we tap into stuff we can't explain, and sometimes we fumble and we struggle to put it into words, and we try to say, like, here's how it works, and there are traditions, and there are metaphors, and there are word pictures, and we're trying to get across this idea, and sometimes we don't do a good job, and sometimes we do a better job. There are like some really traditional versions, like the Night Before Christmas poem that people have treasured for a long time, and there are some kind of cheesy versions that people are going to forget about that come out every year. But the question that you're asking is there anything to it? Is there anything to it at all? I just think there's no question. Yeah, there's something to it. There is, in fact, a lot to it. And if I were going to go through life believing there were nothing to it, I would miss out on so much great stuff. So, I hope you have a merry and a magical Christmas this year. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart.